Give me them good times. Give me them good times. Give me them good times. Give me them good times.
What is up, Black City, and welcome back to Spokast. I'm your host, Brennan Pointer, and first off, shout out to my good friend Jinx Universe for letting me use Good Times as the intro to this episode. Go stream it wherever you listen to music. Well, today marks a very special first for Spokast. Moving forward, I will not only be featuring the amazing people of Spokane, but also those incredible individuals who, while they may not call our city their home, they are bringing their remarkable talents right here to the Lilac City. And on today's episode, I have the pleasure of sitting down with Jessie Hooker-Bailey. She is a Broadway actress who is currently touring with the acclaimed musical Company in the role of Sarah. And though Jessie has yet to explore Spokane, she promised me that she will. Her presence in our city with such a significant Broadway musical highlights just how cool the Spokane art scene is. And on this episode, we will explore her journey from Scranton, Pennsylvania to the bright lights of Broadway and dive into this Stephen Sondheim classic musical. Plus, I'm going to give her some insights on the best downtown spots to visit while she's here in Spokane. To see Company live, you can catch one of the 7 performances starting on Wednesday, September 11th through Sunday, September 15th at the First Interstate Center for the Arts. To purchase tickets, visit BroadwaySpokane.com or visit the link in the description of this episode. Well, I will not keep you any longer. Here is Jessie Hooker-Bailey from the musical Company. This is Spokast. And I was like, sure. And so like my podcast is usually centered around people that live here. And I was wondering, have you ever been to Spokane by chance?
Ever. I've never been to Spokane. That's the thing. Actually, when you or someone from your team friended me, I was like, oh yeah, this is the podcast I'm doing. And I was like, wait, do they know theater at all?
I know. In 2020, my son got obsessed with Hamilton.
I could have guessed it. I could have guessed it with just those things. Yeah.
But no, I mean, where you're going to be at, it's called, I always call it the Opera House. That's what we used to call it a long time ago.
Okay.
And I've seen The Lion King there. I've seen Book of Mormon. I've seen.
Oh, great. Yeah, you've seen some hits.
I've seen Rent. I saw Rent in the front row. So yeah, I've seen a lot. And I mean, I'm not like, I wouldn't say I'm like an aficionado of like of Broadway, but I love it and it's a ton of fun. And I think everyone should experience it. And it's amazing that like in our town that we have a touring Best of Broadway series, like to have all these like shows come here, especially like Company is very, very, very cool.
We forget, I think, because sorry, I'm just like hopping in and chatting, but I've been based on the Northeast. Like I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been living in New York City for about 14 years, performed in a couple of Broadway shows. So I haven't toured in a long time, to be honest with you. And I'm like recently joining the cast. I'm only like 4 months old.
Oh, okay.
So even coming to places like the West Coast, like we were just in LA for 3 weeks and Spokane. I'm always like, is it Spokane? It's Spokane. It's Spokane.
It's Spokane.
But, like, I'm excited. Yeah.
It's Spokane and it's Gonzaga. Like,
right. But I think it's cool that it reminds me of the gift that theater is, like when we get to travel to places that we normally get to see theater all the time. You know?
Thank you so much for, joining me on Spokast to talk about Company and I'm just really excited. This is like one of my first interviews where I'm not really, I mean, I've done other interviews with other people and other podcasts that I've done where it's not like, but this is a first for Spokast. So thank you for joining me, Jessie.
I feel so very pleasured and excited to be here and to be the first.
Yeah. Can you give a brief, like who are you? Like who is Jessie Hooker-Bailey?
Oh my God, who am I? It's a question I'm asking myself at 36 years old. No, I am from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I was a theater kid growing up. I was one of those kids, like I always knew what I wanted to do. I loved to sing. I loved to dance and act and play pretend. So it got me into musical theater. I went to school for musical theater, shout out to Shenandoah Conservatory. And then I moved to New York in 2010 when I graduated from college. And I've just kind of been on the journey of performing ever since. It took me about 6-7 years to get my Broadway debut. I made my Broadway debut in Beautiful, the Carole King musical. I was also in Waitress on Broadway, the Sarah Bareilles musical. And yeah, my husband is also a performer. We met performing in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, because we're traveling artists.
That's
And yeah,
awesome.
now we live in Queens with our dog, and I'm currently traveling around with company.
That's
It's been a gift.
that's really, really cool. So I have a quick aside about Waitress. So you were
Yeah.
on Waitress the entire time, correct?
I was in Waitress from 2018 to 2020 here in New York. So for
So
about 2 years.
did did Jason Mraz do a stint on that?
He did. He's one of the very few people I didn't get to work with.
Oh, okay. I'm a
Unfortunately.
big Jason Mraz fan. I remember
Oh,
seeing that he
good.
was doing a role in that, and I was gonna ask
Yeah.
if you got to perform with him.
No, I didn't. I'm sorry, but lots of friends who did and love
Yeah.
him.
Um, so I wanted to start off just with company, and I would love for you to like, for those who are not familiar with it, could you
Sure.
explain company and why it's such a celebrated musical?
Yeah. So, company, you are seeing this character, Bobby. She's turning 35. This is like the first moments that you see her in the show. And you meet all of her friends, and they all are married couples. And she's trying to decipher whether or not she should be married as well. And she's getting a bunch of pressure from all of her married couples.
Mm,
What is very cool about this version of Company is when it was originally done in the 70s, the lead was a male turning 35. And now we are in 2024. And our director, Marianne Elliott, was like, you know what? I think it should be a female because when we turn 35, there's a whole lot of pressure that people put on of like, if not marriage, what about kids? So
mm.
you see her kind of questioning whether or not she wants this kind of company. It's hilarious. It's written by Stephen Sondheim, one of our musical theater greats.
Mm.
But yeah, people are left laughing and singing the tunes and also thinking about some stuff, you know? It's
Yeah.
yeah.
And so it has shifted since the 70s. Like a lot of the roles have changed and a lot of
Yeah.
the couples have changed. Like I don't
Mhm.
really know much about the original, but I imagine that as it's updated, it has just a lot more inclusion and a lot more like is that
Exactly.
safe to say?
Diversity as
Yeah.
well as there's some gender swapping of roles, but what's amazing about this script is that nothing changed when it comes to the words in the actual script. Nothing has
Mm.
changed. It's the same script from the 70s, which just shows how timeless George Firth, who wrote the script, how timeless some of these situations are. My character Sarah, it's the first couple that you meet in the show. You won't recognize me if you see. Are we seeing in this podcast? Like, are you
Yeah,
seeing? Are you seeing?
you there is a visual element. Yeah, I do some
Oh,
clips with this.
oh,
Um,
cool, cool, cool.
yeah.
Well, I preface that because I wear a blonde wig and no one ever knows that it's me, including my parents. When they saw the show, they were like, we didn't know it was you the first 30 minutes.
That's awesome.
But anyway, I know you meet my character, Sarah. I'm one of Bobby's friends, a part of a couple, and you see the competitiveness between me and my husband in the show, which is it's a healthy competition sometimes in marriage.
Mm.
So it provides a lot of fun, and we get, without any spoilers, we get into a little competition in front of Bobby, and so yeah, lots of fun to be had on stage.
No, that's I was gonna like ask about the like this being a Stephen Sondheim production. It was his final one, correct? In on Broadway before he
So
passed.
it's the last one that he saw.
Ah,
Yeah, it was during oh my gosh, I'm messing up my timeline a little bit, but it was around the pandemic because I remember masks and everything were still used in New York, and
mm,
he was there in the audience and was able to see this version of the show and like,
ah,
had his stamp of approval on it. He really loved that his words didn't have to be changed too much and could still be relevant. And that the show still had something to say years later.
mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
what does it feel like to be part of such a like significant production?
Oh, are you kidding? I say this to people all the time, and I'm not just saying this because, I'm here representing the show, but I feel very proud. And that's not
Mm,
always the case as an actor. You're really lucky if you're part of something that you actually love. A lot of times it's like, all right, I'm doing this to pay the bills to get here, right?
mm.
But the way that this show kind of popped into my life, like I said, I joined the cast about 4 months ago. 4 months ago, I did not know this was going to be my job for the summer. So to get this job and to say like I'm a part of a Stephen Sondheim show, it's a really big. It feels like a medal of honor, a badge of honor you could put on as an actor and be like, wow, I got to do some Sondheim, you know?
Yeah, that's really cool. So
Yeah.
you've been traveling a lot this summer. Like, where have you like? Is traveling and being a part of like is this new for you? Is it, or have you done this before?
So the last time I did it was when I graduated college in 2010. I did the
Mm.
national tour of Legally Blonde. And,
Uh,
I was 21 and I was just like living my best life. Years have passed now. So it's definitely been a while, but it's been nice. I feel like at that age, I was traveling in a different way. I was more worried about like who am I sitting by on the plane, like what's going on. And this time around, I'm like making sure I'm being super intentional every city I'm in. So we were in Seattle and I wanted to see all the sites. I wanted to when we were in San Francisco, I wanted to get by the bay. So I'm making sure to kind of see all of the sites in every city. So you have to tell me where to go.
well, that's really you're leading into my next questions really, really well. I mean, what is it that you're looking for when you go to a city, like when you're
I
traveling?
I'm excited because I love the outdoors. Like I'm not
Mm.
a huge camping girl, and obviously with our show schedule, I'm not able to do that. But I love a body of water. Like I love visiting different sites. So I'm an open book, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're gonna love it here at in Spokane because right next to I'm calling it the Opera Houses because they changed the name of the place multiple times on me,
Okay.
on us. And but right next to it, we have the Spokane River running right through the
It runs
down.
through the town, right?
It's really, really
Wow.
cool. There's so much to do around the Opera House, and there. I mean, there whatever you're looking for. And our slogan for Spokane used to be near nature, near perfect. So like, if
Oh,
like you can go like 5 minutes away from downtown and you can be on trails.
oh, nice.
Um, yeah, it's a really beautiful city, and I mean I love it. Obviously, I started a podcast about it, but it yeah, but like, what else are you like? Are you looking for places to eat? Like, yeah,
Oh,
I love
that's what
the
I mean. I'm like, I love good food. I love a good
mm,
glass of wine. Like, you're gonna have to
yeah.
email me like places to go and
Yeah,
be.
and one of the best places to go in downtown Spokane is Wooden City. It's comfort food. It had like they have really good wings. They have small plates, big plates. I mean, you can share stuff. Like, it's just a really. I wouldn't be
Writing it
surprised
down.
if they recommend that to you to go there when you're here. I
Okay.
love Wooden City. Another one of my favorite places, like it's right across from where you'll be at. There's a place
Sure.
called Durkin's,
Okay.
and Durkin's on my podcast is literally listed as
Sponsored.
one of the best. No, not a sponsor. They have one of the best burgers in Spokane.
Oh,
I do a quiz where I'm like, "What's your favorite burger?" And they're like Durkin's, and so
okay.
Durkin's is a really good place.
Oh, great.
Um, there's a ton of little like Tavolata is a new Italian place. It's really
Oh,
close.
okay.
And they have really good. I'm sure they have good wine, but really good Italian food. If
Yeah.
you
Is everything like walking distance there? Like, what
Yeah,
could I expect?
everything will be walking distance. Gander and Ryegrass is a great another great like little Italian place with amazing wine.
Oh my gosh,
Uh
I'm gonna be so popular with my cast. Like, I'm gonna. Here's where we should go, you guys.
right? But yeah, there's a lot of places you should
What
go.
about
Like
coffee shops?
coffee shops. In Daba, there's a couple locations right downtown.
Okay.
Bobby Inslow is a friend of the podcast, but makes amazing coffee. But
Yeah.
I'm wineries. I'm like trying to think of wineries in particular that are right downtown, and I can't think of anything right now.
That's fine. You
But
can
you'll
email
find
me.
wine. You'll find wine everywhere. You're in Washington, so like anything like from the Columbia Valley,
Yeah,
like well, it's pretty
that's
local. Like is like
okay,
that
cool.
it comes
That's
down
what I
from.
wanna know. Okay. Because that my thing is too is like if I am out here traveling, right? I get to do what I love to do, which is awesome. But if I'm in another state, if I'm in another city, I
Mm,
want to try what's local, right? Like I live
yeah.
in New York, so there is so much at our fingertips, but it's so nice to get away. I've lived here for
Hmm.
such a long time, so I'm excited.
Definitely. When you go to like a place like LA, like there's already a buzz there, but what are the initial reactions people are getting from company?
Um, it depends, like I said, I'm still pretty fresh, but I'm 5 cities in. I rehearsed in San Francisco, which is a big theater town. I opened in Portland, which honestly we sold out. I didn't know what to expect. I was like, I wonder what Portland, Oregon thinks. And
Mm,
like loved it. Seattle was great. I've been really lucky. All of the audiences since I've joined have been really responsive. A lot of people, even in LA, were like, they're subscribers to the theater community. We were at the Pantages there, and they
mm.
were like, we came in as subscribers, like we had tickets, we didn't know what to expect, and we really, really loved it.
That's
Um, I,
awesome.
everyone has something to relate, whether you're in a relationship or not. Like you're going to see yourself on stage in one of these couples, right? You're going to
Mm.
see yourself in one of these characters, which is like really, really fun.
Uh,
That how relatable it is.
Is it a couples should I bring my wife to this? Is that who I should be bringing?
You know what? I don't know you and your wife, but I'm getting the energy like, yeah, you probably like you're not gonna leave being like getting into an argument. You'll most likely get in being like, "Who remember when we were there?" Or like, "Oh wow, I really understand that thing," or like laughing, being like, "Thank God we're not that couple." So you'll find a wide variety of people on stage to relate to or not to relate to.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I was gonna. This is a little bit of a turn, but like you grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I'm like, so how like growing up in like such a small town, like how did growing up there like lead to you wanting to do musical, like being in theater and
Right? So
yeah.
random.
Yeah.
I don't know. I am thankful for music teachers, right? I think it goes back to a little bit of what your question was before, like how are different areas responding to theater? And what
Mm.
I'm finding is that no matter where you are, there's someone that, sorry, New York City behind me. No matter where you are, there's someone that loves storytelling and loves music and loves theater, whether it's a
Mm.
small community or a big one. And while my town was small, the community for theater was pretty big.
Yeah.
I felt like I definitely had great music teachers to go to, and voice teachers and dance classes, and I feel really lucky in that way. And I had a lot of nurturing in that way,
Mm.
to kind of set me up from a young age, to go off and fly in New York City, which is
Yeah.
crazy when I think about it and talk in these kind of things. I'm like, oh yeah, I've been doing this a long time.
What was your first production? Like in high school, what did you do?
Oh man, first ever, I did it at my local like CYC, like our YMCA in
Mm.
town, and it was called Cinderella Wore Combat Boots. It was like a small play, but I played Cinderella, and
Uh,
that's when I got the bug, and I was like, I want to be everything everywhere. But truly, it was like, oh, I like this, and then eventually I found out you could get paid to do it, and I was like, I want to do that. And I'm thankful that my parents were very much like, they were never a plan B, like, you should do this just in case. They were always like, if this is what you want to do, we don't doubt it's going to be hard, but if you want to do it, like, we'll support you.
that's
So I'm
awesome.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
It's really,
that's good that like I I sent my kids through a program like a I think it was called CYT or SYT, like
uh-huh.
Spokane Youth Theater, and like they
Oh,
did like a
nice.
summer program, and they just like I mean I don't know if they like like want to pursue it, but I want them to like try it. Like I want them to do
Yeah.
different. I want them to do sports. I want them to do theater. Like
I think
one of
that's
my
great.
best memories was I was a cross country runner in high school, and that was all I did. I ran cross country and track, and I
Yeah. Me
prepared
too,
for it.
actually. I went through a phase of that too. Yeah.
Uh, and my senior year, I was just like, you know what? I'm not that great at track. I'm not going to do anything in it, so I'm just going to try out for the school play. And
Oh,
I got I got one of the roles in a play in a Neil Simon's play called Rumors. Eh,
yes.
and I was like, and I got a bug and I got to act, but I never really pursued any more after that. But it is something that I feel like everyone should try.
Yeah, I think similarly again to what we were saying about the show being so relatable, I think there's just
Mm.
something about telling stories in this way that as a young kid or adults, like I teach musical theater as well, and I teach a wide range. People that are
Mm.
just out of like BFA programs and are coming to New York for the first time, or like people that are my age or older that just want to sing in front of each other.
Mm.
And I think there's something really special to open up in that way. Wow, really giving you the like Queens streets right now.
I love it.
Yeah, I think there's just something about opening up to yourself like creatively, even if you don't end up being like, I want to go to New York and be on Broadway. So I think it's cool that you're opening that up for your kids to be expressive in that way and tell stories. And you learn a lot about yourself, like getting out of your comfort zone in that way, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted you to talk like you teach too. Like how
Yeah.
like what do you like? Is that your main like job currently
It
or
Well, it kind of depends. So right now my main job is company.
right?
We close the tour at October 6th, then I'll kind of start back up with teaching again. And what's been great is once I learned this show, I could go back to teaching virtually.
Ah,
Um, but teaching is something I fell into actually during Waitress. I was in that show for 2 years. So imagine everyone listening, if you have a 9 to 5 or whatever your job is, if you do the same thing every day, but sometimes people forget when you're the actor, especially in theater, especially
Mm,
in something on Broadway or in these national tours, you're doing the same show every day, the same thing every day. So while it's my dream, after about 6 or 7 months, I was like, I think I need to like do more, you know?
mm-hmm,
So I kind of fell into teaching that way. And it started off by teaching like dance workshops and parts of the show, like from Waitress specifically. And then the
mm-hmm.
pandemic happened. So a lot of everything shut down, not a lot,
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
So I had already kind of started teaching through that. And then once everything opened back up, I really loved doing it. I loved sharing everything that I've been learning in the business because I've been doing it for a little bit. And I realized growing up, I didn't have teachers that actually experienced what it was like to do 8 shows a week and what it was like to be on Broadway and to live in New York City. So that's kind of all a part of my passion. I love
yeah.
performing and I love teaching and talking about the performing and kind of sharing the wealth in that way.
How does that impact like the way you act being a teacher and then going
Oh,
into like going like because you have such a different perspective when you also teach, right?
really do. And I think, I recently I'm an adjunct professor at Marymount Manhattan here in New York.
Mm.
And I did about 3 semesters before I got on the road. And some of my students came out to see me just in the last month, which is really, it blows your mind a little bit. You're like, oh, I want to make sure I'm doing all the things I talk about all the time.
Right.
But it was really sweet seeing them afterwards. And I think, this generation has gone through some things too. They have a lot of feelings. I have a lot of feelings about things.
Mm.
So it's been really a lot to learn from each other. I think as I was teaching, I was like, oh, I'm learning a lot from this human being and seeing them and meeting them where they're at as an artist. And as a teacher, they're doing the same for me, So I think
Yeah.
I carry everything that I've learned from them so far in this last 2 years on the road with me. And
Uh,
hopefully that they could take a little bit. I think me getting this job, some of them were like, oh, she's still doing it. Oh, okay. So it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt that I'm working right now. It helps.
Definitely. No, for sure. W- being like from Scranton or from Spokane, like what is like a advice that you do give to like aspiring actors that are like trying to just get out there and do it
Oh
in
yeah, I love.
in smaller cities?
Yeah, I think experience is everything. We
Hmm.
only we only learn by doing. I think there's only so much we could read and write. It's very important too, and to listen to those cast recordings like Hamilton, right, on repeat. But there's something about actually standing on our 2 feet and doing it. And if you could get into a class, if you could get into, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Like community theater is how I started. After Cinderella wore combat boots, it was like Annie and Once Upon a Mattress, and like I was in my community theaters all of the time.
Hmm.
The more that I did it, the more I was able to watch other people who've been doing it longer than me and learn from them. And I just think experience is everything. So get yourself in class, get yourself in those community theaters, read plays with friends. Like you said, you did Neil Simon rumors. Like that's amazing.
It was, yeah, it's weird going back and my friend has a video of it that I have not ever watched, but
Oh
I
my
played
God, you
like
have to play clips for the
I
podcast.
I
Come
do. But I played Glenn, who, and I came in like about halfway through the first act,
Yeah.
and it was a very serious part that I was fighting with my wife in it. And as an 18-year-old, I was not like, I did not
Oh,
know what I was doing. I
oh
was
my
like,
God.
and now like going back and like reading it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I know exactly what's going on with Glenn and Casey.
Okay. Funny enough, this relates to my experience with companies. So I
Mm,
got my equity card in 2012 doing company and like the original version, the version where Bobby was a man. I did it in
mm,
Rochester, New York at the Jiva Theater. I got my equity card. It means I was part of the union, but I was 21 and I played Jenny at the time and she's in this married couple and like I had no idea what I was doing. And my memories from that time was that the director was really hard on me. But now 36-year-old me is like, oh, because I didn't know what the heck I was talking about. How could you know? You only know what you know, right? That now,
hmm.
the scene that I'm in with my scene partner in the show now, I'm playing Sarah. It's like, I have to think about it, but not really. I'm like, I know this relationship. I get what's going on here, So it's funny. It's exactly what you said. Like time gives you that experience, the experience education.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to just take a quick little like break and play a little game. I usually play a game in Spokast, but I'm not going to play the Spokast game with you because you wouldn't know
I'll be
anything
lost.
about Spokane. But I have like some questions that relate to you.
Okay.
And I want to know, first one I want to know is like, what is your favorite musical of all time?
Oh my gosh, of all time, Into the Woods. It's a Stephen Sondheim. I'm not even
Mm,
kidding.
yeah.
It's my fave.
I need to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, is that a good one to watch? Like on the Disney version?
I love Meryl Streep and all of those actors so much, but I would tell you to watch the stage version, like the
Okay.
version that was on PBS with Bernadette Peters. That's like the classic.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is a dream role that you haven't played yet?
Oh, I haven't played it yet. I want to create something on Broadway. So I
Ooh.
did. I've replaced before. So I'm Beautiful. That show was running for 4 years. I popped in there. Waitress, the same thing. And now my goal is like I want to be the first to wear the costume. I want to originate a role on
Oh,
Broadway.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. That'd be
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
What's your go-to song that you sing in the shower?
Oh, anything Whitney Houston. I love her.
Oh man, Whitney Houston is like one of my I just dance with somebody is like
Yes,
anything from like early 90s like Whitney is
absolutely.
like
That classic.
classic. Yeah,
Yeah.
my
I want to dance with somebody is like if my husband were here, he'd be like, "That's her song." If it comes on anywhere at a wedding or on the street in New York, I'm like, "Oh my God, Whitney."
Yeah, my first CD I ever got, it wasn't Whitney, but it was Janet, and it was
Yes.
the Janet album with like where she had her hands over her, or someone had her
Yes.
hands over her breast, and
Yeah.
a 9-year-old Brennan should not have had that.
But you're like, I'll never forget it.
But now I'm just a huge fan of R&B. So
So good.
um, I don't know if this is actually a thing in Scranton, but like New York pizza or Philly cheesesteak.
Oh, I could answer that, I think. I'm a pizza girl all the
Okay.
way. Old Forge pizza is like our pizza in Wilkes-Barre, Scranton. It's like the square Sicilian kind.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's not good. Okay. Um,
So
but
not New York, but pizza.
if you weren't a performer, what would you be doing?
I think I'd be a therapist.
Mm,
Funny enough. Yeah. I
oh,
like talking out my feelings and each other's feelings.
yeah. And when you aren't, doing what you're doing, like what is your favorite pastime?
Oh man. That's what I'm trying to figure out, honestly, because my life has been very much consumed by this thing that I do. With teaching being that too, it's become a thing. But right now it's been like I'm home. I was home these last 2 weeks and I'm like chilling with my dog and my
Mm,
husband and like
yeah,
going, we love to brunch. We love good food. We love exploring different restaurants in the city. So that's
yeah,
kind of been a hobby lately, is like seeing what our city has to offer.
yeah. Do you get to do brunch when you're in Spokane?
Oh, I might be able to. Give me a list.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite place. Well, there's brunch in Spokane is very Brunchinette is very good. It's walkable. There's my favorite place. It's owned by two good friends. It's called Elliot's Urban
Elliot.
Kitchen, and it's only about like 2 miles from where you'd be staying.
Okay.
But it is the best brunch in Spokane.
Oh my
They
God.
and
Okay,
they're
I'm starring that because brunch is like my thing.
yeah.
Love.
And then there's a place called IPK Inland Pacific Kitchen, and I've actually never been there. But everyone when I ask this question on Spokast is they
Yes,
always say Inland
it's
Pacific
nice
Kitchen.
that you have.
Perfect.
I'm so excited.
Well, this has been such a. I mean, I didn't know what to expect from the conversation because I don't do a lot of remote stuff. But
Yeah,
it was so great to meet you, and
nice to meet you
uh,
too.
I gotta ask, like, how can people find you? What's the best place for people to like follow you online?
Sure, Instagram's great at Jessie Hooker-Bailey, JessieHookerBailey.
Awesome. Um, and then the final question I always ask on the podcast is why Spokane? But I'm gonna ask why company? Why is this a must see for the Spokane audience?
I think so. As I've said, this show is a good time and very relatable. I think you're gonna leave like feeling a lot of feelings. One of them being like having a good time.
Mm,
Yeah, it
yeah,
really is. I'm excited to get back to where honestly it's been 2 weeks off and I'm like, oh, I'm so excited to get back on stage and like tell this story because I think it's something that moves everybody in a different way, and has you laughing. It's like the best feeling to be on stage and being like, oh, I love that I made that person laugh, you know?
yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
I'm excited to see it. It was unexpected to I was like going through the list of shows coming up, and
Yeah.
I had never heard of it. And honestly, when they reached out to me and said company, I was like, I don't, what's
No, that
company?
is.
And I
Yeah.
don't,
Most
yeah.
people.
And so I looked it up and I was like, this is right up my alley. Cause
Oh
I
my
just,
gosh.
like I
Please
said, I
let
was
me
at,
know when you come.
yeah. So I will definitely, I'll be there on opening night. And yeah, no, I'm excited. So, and everyone else, anyone who hasn't got tickets yet, just go get them online, and
Yeah,
uh
come on out. We're gonna have a good time.
go see Jesse and see the rest of the
Yay.
cast. I should have asked about the cast, like who has been who, like the
Well,
who's a,
our,
like,
our
yeah,
leading lady.
shout out your cast, like who's like fun to
Yes.
work with, or who's, I
Brittany
guess you can't.
Coleman is our
Mm,
leading lady. She plays Bobby. She is on stage for 2.5 hours, giving out her heart and soul, and talk about making people laugh, moving people to happy tears and moving tears. And she's been doing this role for over a year now on the road,
mm,
and she covered it on Broadway. So she really knows company inside and out, and I think she has done like such a beautiful job giving her own performance. Everyone's great. What's great about this show is everyone's a principal. Everyone kind of has their leading moment and they're in their scene, and then we continue to support everybody else throughout the rest of the show. So I love it. It's a
nice.
big like team building show. It's cool.
Awesome. Well, again, Jesse, thank you so much for being on Spokast and having
Hey,
this
thanks for
wonderful
having me.
conversation. And like I said, I'm excited to see company and see your role as Sarah. So
I'm excited to be there.
awesome. Well, thank you all for listening, and until next time, peace.
Thanks, bye.
This ain't a love thing, we fucking, but it's lovely, humping, bumping uglies, what a fun thing, nothing, but it's something, what I'm wanting. It's a real freak bitch with a tongue ring. You know that one girl that do that one thing, she made it disappear.